Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome to the ONI podcast. Today we're talking about mental health, which is obviously very important, but also what to look out for if you think you might need some help and what you can do to help yourself in the long term. Today I'm joined by my good friend, Harris Butt.
How's it going?
He's a very good personal trainer, tutors at the NZIHF, Institute of Health and Fitness, and we've also worked together in improving his own movement mechanics. He's junior 93 class powerlifting national champion, or was.
Yeah.
What up, Harris?
Well, how's it going?
Good.
Good?
A little bit stressed about this word that we're trying to learn.
Yeah.
So
me
every
too.
week on this podcast, Y teaches us a new word to use. Last week was Hauora for health or wellness. Today is
Kori tinana.
Kori tinana.
Kori tinana.
Hey,
You got it.
hey.
And that means workout.
I kori tinana.
I sometimes Kori tinana.
You need to up your kori tinana.
I should do more Kori tinanas
Hey.
for my Hauora.
Hey. Big deal. For those that don't know, what is Hauora?
Hauora is health or wellness.
Okay.
Right?
Wellness. Hauora.
And learning PT or health professional stuff, we learn it in the pillars of four. The 4 pillars of Hauora, that sort of thing. But anyway, so today we're talking about mental health. Why mental health, Harris?
Mental health is something that's been growing. The conversation has been increasing over the past few years, but it's still something that a lot of people don't know how to improve on, through exercise or even without exercise.
Yeah.
So it's important to figure out ways to help others, things that they can do practically on a day-to-day basis to improve
That's a
their mental
massive
health.
thing, right? Because we've had Mental Health Awareness Week recently.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And the awareness have gone up, and we've been able to recognize that it is something that's super important for us to be able to see and recognize in our entire wellness. It's not just physical health, it's also mental health too.
Exactly.
Right? So it's really important for us to be able to actually improve it long term. Can you tell me about, or tell us all about, a little bit about your personal story, what's some journeys that you've been through, get some insight into who you are?
Yeah, so when I started personal training, I was fortunate enough to become very successful very quickly, and at the same time I was getting into powerlifting and again getting very successful very quickly in it. But one thing that I neglected through that whole journey was improving my mental health, because I was doing well. I didn't need to work on that side of things.
Yeah, because you're freaking strong, man. Like, we worked together. You're freaking strong.
Yeah. So I can get pretty strong pretty quickly, which I'm pretty blessed to have. Now, when I started struggling with, let's say, my business, personal life, injuries through training, my mental health declined, and through that, my business suffered. I couldn't maintain working properly through Les Mills. I couldn't train properly. Over time, I found ways to get better, talking to people, figuring out ways on my own to improve my mental health. And just going through that journey, I kind of realized, a lot of people actually don't know how to get better.
What was it about your mental health that stopped you from doing all those things? Was it like stress? Was it like
I think it was like
emotional?
it was accumulation of a lot of different things: stress, having expectations as a business owner, as well as
And
an
probably
athlete.
as an athlete too,
Yeah, exactly. And then stuff like being too hard on yourself and not understanding the process of things, how your mind and how your body really works. Where when you have like bad feelings, where do they actually come from, and what does that all mean? And when you just take it all on yourself,
what does it all mean?
yeah, deep questions.
So this weekend, you're actually taking a workshop, or you're running a workshop to do with mental health.
Yeah.
What is that all about?
So I'm taking a workshop this weekend to help with people with training and exercise as well as mental health, either together or separately.
Yeah, because they're linked, right? They're super linked. Physical activity and mental health.
Absolutely, super linked. And we all know that training or exercise helps improve your mental health. But even if you exercise, it doesn't make you immune to mental health issues, as everyone knows. So we're looking at things that we can do, strategies that we can implement on a day-to-day basis. Some super simple, some super easy. Some things that might be a little bit uncomfortable, but we might need to do those uncomfortable things to make meaningful change over time.
Well, I think that's really important, right? We need to learn these tools and strategies to improve our mental health. We've got the awareness now. In recent years, we're starting to get more and more into health, and we have not been saying haora at all, have we?
That's like $6 each.
I just noticed that I looked at you.
To my dinner.
Oh my god!
So you didn't write it down.
I forgot to mention that if we don't use these words in our conversation, it's $1 donation to
Waimari's
food.
Okay.
I should probably stop eating, so it's probably $1 donation towards healthy food.
All right. I can do that.
$6 each plus Ben's $3 from last week.
Oh yeah, I think I got a couple dollars too. Just
How much is that? That's $10 for me.
All right. What's your account number?
But anyway, I think it's really important for us to learn some tools and strategies to be able to improve our haora overall. That includes our mental health, obviously. So I think it's really awesome that you're putting on this workshop. We already know physical activities linked with mental health, and developing some recognition and strategies to deal with that is super awesome. So that's freaking awesome that you're doing that. And the proceeds go to charity as well. Like,
yeah, everything goes to charity.
Awesome. Where is that? The workshop?
The workshop is at the New Zealand Institute of Health and Fitness in Wellington. So that is level 1, 94 Dixon Street.
What time is that?
That's at 10 a.m. this Saturday. Which is the 17th of November.
How do people sign up to that?
I've got a website all put up. It's on my Instagram. You can get out a link. My plug is Harris Fitness Coach. All one word, 1 R in Harris.
No, cool. We'll probably link some stuff onto our video as well. But anyway, so I think it's really important that even while we're talking about these tools and strategies to gain more insight and background into mental health and how to improve it, I think it's also important that we need to recognize some boundaries. So we're both personal trainers or working as in health professions, and being able to recognize our scope of practice is super important because we are not counselors or psychologists. So as soon as something becomes like a clinical presentation of anything, then it's kind of out of our scope and we should refer on. So I think we should talk about what are some signs or symptoms or things that people should recognize both as PTs or as people just noticing things about themselves, right? So let's talk about PTs first. It's an evolving industry, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And we are often dealing with people that want to work on their self-esteem or aren't that confident with themselves. So there's some of these areas that borderline into some mental health issues, things like depression and anxiety. And if we can't recognize some of these things, then we could be doing harm. Right?
Definitely.
We could potentially be doing a lot of harm for these people, especially if we're, I don't know, just bad PTs in general. So as PTs, what should we be looking out for in our clients?
I guess you can look out for how someone sort of acts. There's some indicators. It's like if you have gone through something, you've suffered a trauma and you can't seem to stop thinking about it. That is a sign that you might need to go speak to someone, a professional. There's a few other things I've written
and
down.
A trauma can be anything.
It could be anything that has a massive impact on you emotionally, psychologically. And again, you can't stop thinking about it. Stuff like having unexpected or recurring headaches, stomach aches, and just feeling run down in general. Because
when we're emotionally upset, it can affect our bodies, which we'll learn about soon. Right?
Absolutely.
You're going to talk to us a little bit about how that works. But
and then stuff like using substances to cope.
That's a big one. What can these substances be? Like drugs, obviously.
Yeah, drugs, alcohol. Food. Even.
Food can be a substance.
Absolutely. It's a coping mechanism.
You can use anything as a coping mechanism, and a lot of them can be unhealthy behaviors. Right?
Absolutely. Stuff like how if you usually enjoy these hobbies and things on a day-to-day basis and you stop enjoying things you usually would enjoy, there can be signs that something is up. So stuff like, if you go out fishing, or if you like playing video games, or going to the gym, playing with your friends, and you just stop enjoying those things, then that could be a sign that something could be up and you should probably talk.
So So you could feel like you're disconnected from like previous hobbies, and people as well. That's
absolutely.
One. Relationships can be strained. So as a PT, obviously it's kind of like hairdressing in a way. You have clients that kind of like talk to you about issues that they might not normally talk to with their normal circle of friends. There's something about the relationship that you have with a client, they can sort of just tell you anything. So they often tell you a lot of things, and as PTs, if we can listen out and hear some of these indicators, it can give us clues into where their mental health is, right? Obviously, if it breaches into some of this stuff, we can't help them directly. We might have to refer on. Who would we refer on to if, let's say, a client has suffered a trauma, or there's they may be behaving nihilistically. They're not their attitude towards their kori tinana is not very good. They're telling you about strained relationships or things that they used to enjoy. Who would you refer them to?
I guess the first thing is your community counselors, the people that are around your community closest to you, doctors, GPs. Obviously, there's free Healthlines on the internet.
And they're free.
They're free.
Yeah.
So those are extremely helpful and point of contact, because you can just call them up anytime, anywhere, right? And so talking to somebody you trust, obviously. If you don't feel comfortable talking to or going out to a professional, at least having a conversation with someone that you trust is...
At least having some sort of support network, right? Anybody,
absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
I think that's really important, like family, friends. It's a bit of responsibility for them to take, but I mean, if you need the help, then...
Yeah. And same. If you can be that person for someone, you can be that designated listener that someone needs. That can be very important. And knowing that there is someone out there in your life that you can have that conversation with is really helpful.
For sure. So as PTs, we're watching out for those things. As an individual, obviously, the same things apply. But got another one on this list. It's like if you are kind of like consistently being asked, like, "Are you okay? Do you need help? Are you talking to anybody about this?" That's probably a sign that you should probably talk about it with somebody, right? So that's another thing.
Yeah.
If you are feeling like you're overwhelmed by a past trauma or something that's you can't stop thinking about or can't break out of, then you just need to talk. So anyway, we're going to talk about understanding some of the things behind this. Nothing in too specific detail, because obviously it's out of our scope, but there are some very helpful, easy, simple tips and tricks and tools and strategies you can apply to understanding and managing all of this stuff, right? So let's talk about emotions. That's a really common one that we keep talking about, mental health, emotions.
Yeah, so emotions are a big part of everyone's life, and understanding where they come from can be very useful to help you control, or at least know what to do when they arise, right? So what are the emotions? When we think about emotions, when we think of what the things we feel...
Is anger one of them?
Anger is definitely one of them, anger, sadness, fear. So a lot of the emotions that we feel, especially the ones that are quite strong, like fear, like anxiety, or anger, they're really there from the caveman time. When we were back in underwear 24/7.
Back when loincloths was a thing.
Right?
Still is a thing.
There'd be like a lot of threats to our survival, like animals trying to eat us, not having food. So those emotions would give us signs and signals to, protect ourselves.
Right, yeah.
Now, we've evolved as people and as a society, but those instinctual emotions are still there, right? So they're there because
they're quite well embedded, right?
They're very well embedded
through survival.
Yeah,
and if we didn't survive, we didn't pass on our genes, obviously.
Exactly, yeah. So we've survived, but our emotions think we're still in that primal state. So they're there to give us signs and signals to tell us we're in danger. Now, the danger that we were in back then of being, eaten or dying, killed, exactly, which is quite extreme. We don't have those dangers anymore. But our emotions, our brain, back of our head, that's still things we do.
But our responses are still to that level. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly, right? So if we can understand that, we can use that and be like, okay, these are strong feelings and emotions, but they're from a time where we would be in a massive amount of danger. But because we're not, I can actually control this. I can understand and I can control this. I cannot let this control me. So that's the first step in understanding, where they're actually coming from.
Because I think that's a common thing. When I am super, I don't know, emotional, I catastrophize everything.
It just blows everything into proportion.
Catastrophize. Yeah, that's
it turns into
everything turns into a catastrophe.
Yeah.
I'm super anxious. Something's happened. It's the end of the world. That sort of feeling.
Things are blown up.
But it's not the end of the world.
It's only you don't realize that until you're out of the situation, right? Until maybe a week later, or when you're not feeling that thing. But when you're in that state, it does feel like it's a massive deal. So understanding that, we need to go, okay, so emotions are good and emotions are bad, and we should learn to go. We shouldn't trust either a good or a bad emotion.
What do you mean by that?
So what I mean is, if let's say emotion is bad and we're feeling anxious about something, and anxiety usually comes from some previous experience in the past or something you are going to do in the future, right? And if you have a bad experience in the past and you have anxiety about how someone's going to react or what is going to unfold, you might make decisions based on that feeling that will have an even worse impact on you because of the way you're feeling.
Yeah, makes sense.
Right? And if you have, let's say, good emotion, really feeling good about yourself, you're having a great day, and because you see this massive sale of shoes in the store, and you go spend lots of money because you're feeling great, and then you check your bank account the next day, you're like, oh, I should not have done that. Right? So those emotions can have an impact if we let them.
Right. Okay.
So we should acknowledge that they're there and become familiar with them, but not always rely on them to make the decisions you need to make.
Not live your life by
the things you feel.
Solely your emotions, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Okay. What about the brain?
The brain.
What should we understand about the brain?
So the brain is a pretty cool place. A lot of things happen there, and the two main things.
I happen there.
Yes, you do happen there. There's two parts of the brain that really affect our emotions. So we've got the limbic system, which is associated with feeling, and emotions. And there's another part of our brain which is called the neocortex, which is associated with thinking, being conscious, and making complex decisions.
Wow.
And language, right?
It's quite different, right?
It's very different. Now, one important thing to note is the limbic brain isn't associated with language. So our feelings and emotions, the things we feel, it's very difficult for us to say what we feel. Right? Because that part of our brain isn't associated with it. So the way the brain waves work is signals go through the limbic system, and we feel the things first before we can articulate what we feel.
Right.
Because it has to go through the limbic system before it gets to the neocortex, the thinking brain.
So this can explain physiologically why sometimes when we're overwhelmed with emotions and feelings, it's very hard for us already to even talk about them.
Exactly.
Or form words about them. Yeah. Right. Okay.
Yeah. Like a super simple example in a way is when you start dating someone, right? And someone asks you, "Oh, so why are you into this person? Why do you like this person?" And you go,
I don't even know.
"Yeah, I just don't know. They're really making me laugh.
love her.
Yeah, I love her, and then they just make me laugh." Right, so no one else has made you laugh before.
Yeah, I see.
You know what I mean?
I see.
It's very hard to articulate, but they're still there.
So all this stuff is well embedded in science, right? How did you get into all of this stuff? As a personal trainer, you've obviously helped a lot of people with their own whole journey.
Yeah.
But how did you get into all this mental health stuff anyway? Because this is not just like basic PT stuff, right?
Yeah. No. So I think the first thing was just a desire to understand how we think. I have a lot of conversations with clients, students, other friends, and I get very interested in what happens in the brain to create the thought processes for them to communicate the things that they're communicating to me. And I looked into a few things. I read a couple books, and I started, diving deep into how the way we think influences the way we act and speak to others.
Yeah. For everyone listening / watching, Harris is actually being very modest right now. Because we were talking before, and he's actually helped well over 200 people, many of which have had something or other to do with their mental health, right? And this is not like normal PT stuff, although it's really good to know you've actually helped a lot of people with their mental health while recognizing scope of practice as well. So they can be very humble.
Yeah, so I think, that the way that people think, the way they act, because of the way they think, it's super interesting to me. And
very interesting.
Yeah, and I was like, what is the root of this? And it's the brain, right?
So we're just talking about sort of understanding our emotions, where they come from, the whole survival and evolutionary aspect of that, understanding parts of our brain. What do we do with all that stuff? What can we do with it?
So some of the things that we can do is look at how we can, a simple way is the feelings that we feel, like shitty feelings, right? Terrible feelings that we have, and how we can learn to understand and control them, right? There's 4 steps. But before I talk about the 4 steps, here's something that, most people go through. It's called the feedback loop from hell, right?
The feedback loop from hell.
The feedback loop from hell.
Whoa.
Right?
Okay.
So when you'll feel anxious about something insignificant. Then you feel more anxious because you realize you're anxious about something insignificant.
Yes.
And then you get more anxious because you realize you're still anxious about this insignificant thing. All the time, right? And then you get pissed off with yourself because you're like, why can't I stop? Why can't I stop being anxious? And you think about how anxious you are and how pissed off you are makes you more anxious.
Yep. Okay.
And it goes in.
So that's the loop.
That's a loop.
Anxious, angry, anxious.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Right. And everyone goes through it. So how do we break it?
Right.
When we feel something, we have to accept it for what it is. I am anxious about this thing. That's okay. So because when we accept it, what happens is we are removing the energy and time to fight it. And the more we fight it, the more of a loop it becomes, right? Why am I anxious? Why am I anxious? Instead,
right.
I'm anxious. Okay, that's the thing right now. That immediately breaks the loop, right?
It's kind of like, don't think about the elephant, right? And you keep thinking about the elephant.
You keep thinking about the elephant.
If you just accept that the elephant's there, you sort of just...
Exactly.
Now?
Yeah, what now?
Cool.
Let's move on.
So you break the pattern.
So you break the pattern by accepting it for what it is. And the next thing you can do is learn about it and become familiar with it.
What do you mean by that?
So what I mean by that is when you feel these feelings, don't judge yourself for having the feelings. Because when you start judging yourself, you attack yourself, right? You automatically say, you aren't human and you shouldn't have these feelings, even though they're a very normal part of being a human being. They're part of our instinctual self. So if you judge yourself for having these feelings, it's going to, again, require more energy to battle yourself and struggle with having the conversation of why do I have these feelings, even though they're just a part of being human, right? So first, accept it for what it is. Don't judge yourself for having it. And then become familiar with it and realize, okay, what triggers it usually? What part of what I do on a day-to-day basis or how I interact with other people triggers...
What normally starts this loop?
Yeah, what starts this loop?
Okay. And
then once you become familiar with it, you can start to manage it. You can realize, okay, so if I have a difficult conversation, if I don't have my... What's the word? If I don't have my kori tinana.
Was that accurate?
Was that? Okay, cool.
Got the thumbs up from Y?
Thank you. We start feeling anxious, and then we can go, cool, how can I manage this? Do I need to plan a little bit better? Do I need to just let it be and keep moving forward? Do I need to talk to someone? So once we understand what triggers it, we can go, okay, how can I manage this? Again, without judging it, and accepting that it is here and it's a thing, and it's going to be part of me for right now.
So this is like a step-by-step guide into how to handle these kind of bad moments in life, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a negative feedback loop. Break the loop.
Break the loop.
Recognize the trigger of the loop. That gives you some place to go in how you can manage the trigger Because you've already recognized it.
You can manage the trigger, or if you can't sort of manage the trigger, you can manage how you react.
How you react to the trigger.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what would be a good example? I hate when people lie to me. I hate when people are not genuine with me.
Right.
And that puts me in a negative loop.
Cool.
But if I recognize that someone's being ingenuine with me, I can choose to not make a big fuss and not get angry. That sort of thing?
Yeah, that sort of thing.
That's
So
how I react to my trigger.
yeah. So someone makes you, isn't honest with you, you can accept it for what it is. Some people just aren't honest. And then, okay, cool. And then, you might be upset with yourself for being super angry about someone not being honest with you, and say, hey, it's okay to be angry about this thing. If I wasn't angry, that would be kind of weird,
Yeah. Okay. So that's how to handle bad feelings and negative feedback loops. Is there? What can we do about positivity?
Embrace it.
Embrace it.
And learn to use it to build momentum positively.
Yeah.
Right?
I think that's super important.
Yeah.
Super important.
Yeah.
I was at a neuroplasticity workshop a few weeks ago with Lisa Crawford, and she was talking about how reinforcing positive patterns can have an impact on not just your mental health, but obviously physically too, right?
100%.
And it's all pattern-based. Like what I took from it is that everything's pattern-based. Obviously, I operate in movement, and everything's pattern-based there too. But also in the mind, the circuitry in your mind and your neurology is all pattern-based.
It's all pattern-based.
If you practice being negative, practice these feedback loops, they get stronger and bigger, just like muscle tissue. It just gets stronger. So if you practice positive feedback loops, or positive thought in general, or being in the moment, being mindful and recognizing and being right there with that positivity and embracing it, like you were saying, that does really good things for our mental health, right?
A super simple way to think about this is, one thing is understand that your brain is really lazy.
Lazy?
Super lazy. So what I mean by that is it will do what it is used to doing and whatever comes natural to it. And what comes natural to it is what it's accustomed to. So if you think in a certain way, when you're in a stressed situation, you'll go back to thinking in that way because it's just easy to do that.
Right, well, you had a pattern of that. You've practiced that. You're good at that.
Yeah, and the neural bridges are built based on that. That's what neuroplasticity is you do something and you build a connection in your brain. And the more you do it, the bigger the connection is and the stronger the bridge gets. And eventually that bridge can get so strong, it can be hard to break. Right? Negative or positive.
Yeah.
Right?
Makes
so
sense.
we have to practice building that bridge in a positive way. Now, how can we...
It does take practice, eh?
Oh, absolutely. It takes practice.
So how can we do this? How can we get better at handling our feelings, positive and negative?
So for the positive feelings, we want to look at the things that either can help us get in a better mood, right? We all know moving helps us feel better, right? If we move, we can use that as momentum.
Do you mean like body movement?
Yeah, body movement.
Yeah.
Body movement, right? Body movement. Yeah, exercise is a way that we feel good because it is literally moving. It's expressing ourselves through movement.
Yes.
But we can't always exercise.
No.
Right? So things that we can do is express ourselves through movement, like dancing to some songs that we like. Right? And the funny thing is, when we're depressed or feeling down on ourselves, the last thing we want to do is move and express ourselves.
Good point.
We want to just sit there and be in our feelings.
Just mope around.
Just mope around. Even though we know we shouldn't be doing that, but it's what's easiest to us within that moment, because that's what our brain is telling us. So we need to realize that and say, I want to break out of this, therefore I need to start moving.
Yeah, I need to break that pattern.
Yeah.
What else physiologically does movement do? There's something to do with dopamine, right?
Oh yeah, dopamine, right? So when you move, you feel good. You have the dopamine release. When you have the dopamine release when you move, you generally...
What is dopamine?
It's a hormone that makes you just fill your body with endorphins, right? It's
We hear that a lot with we hear that word a lot, but what is that even? What is it? Because we always hear, oh yeah, if we exercise or do a koritinana, move around, then we're going to get an injection of endorphins.
Endorphins, right? So it's a chemical in your brain telling you this is something that's super cool. You should feel really good about it.
Yes.
Right? And it gets triggered by obviously moving around, having a conversation, or being around people that you care about, you love, you know,
being engaged,
being
interested in something, challenged. It's going to give you all those feelings, right?
Yeah. You know, having that gratification. That's why Facebook, you know, it gives you social media gives you that dopamine.
Yeah.
From the instant gratification when people hit that like button on whatever you post.
What else gives you like instant gratification with endorphins and stuff? Kind of a negative one.
A negative one? If a negative one is someone that, you know, tells you something.
Because I'm thinking like drugs and alcohol. And other things that give you a little hit.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Or like a bad relationship with food would give you a little bit of a hit.
Those instant hits.
Right?
Yeah.
And it links to addiction in that way too, because you're practicing that pattern, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, drugs, alcohol, food, they feel good right there and then, but obviously they have the negative effects later on. But that's why we want them, because we don't have that natural endorphin feeling through koritinana or talking to people.
Nice.
Thank you. So we start chasing those things through substances.
I imagine, because I'm no expert, but I imagine this is how you would deal with addiction too, right? You break the loop, you recognize the trigger, you manage the trigger, and you try and do it without judging yourself.
Yeah, there's a really cool book called The Power of Habit.
Power of Habit.
I forgot who it's by, but it goes into detail on how these addictions and habits are formed and what you can do to break them. But if you really want to learn to break them, there's a book called Atomic Habit. Atomic Habit, which some of the things I'm going to be taking through in my workshop are going to be from that book. And
you're going to cover a lot of this stuff in your workshop in more depth.
Definitely.
You know, teach people step by step on how to understand your emotions, brain, and how to control certain things and manage them, and some a bigger step by step thing than the 4 steps you've given us today, right? And how to be better and practice sustainability. So speaking of sustainability, what can we do really quickly to create behavior change to try and help our mental health?
Because the first thing we want to do is, we know the brain likes to feel good, right? How can we make the brain feel good and still do good things, right? So self-efficacy is the ability to do small things, small behavior things that can make us feel good, to build that positive momentum to do the things we need to do throughout our day.
What do you mean good things?
So good things as in behaviors that will influence you in a positive way, right? So being a healthier person, doing your koritinana, you know,
having a healthy relationship with it all as well.
Exactly. You know, being usually in general a tidy person, or someone that you can have nice conversations with. One thing that I use is a simple example is making your bed in the morning, right? For some people, it's difficult to do, right? But it's not a very difficult thing in itself to do.
No.
Right? So let's say you struggle to be, let's say, a tidy person, and you want to and you want to become tidier, right? And your mental health struggles, but you want to improve it in a way. So you can go, okay, I'm going to make my bed every day. Now, it's something that is easy enough for you to do in the morning, but it's difficult enough for you that it requires a bit of focus and attention every single time in the morning. So you can take that. So let's say you wake up, you make your bed, you did something, and you accomplished a goal, and you feel good about it.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
You have that instant win, and it's important to celebrate that win, because you tell your brain, this is something good, and I'm enjoying that I'm doing this. I'll go, yes, I think we should keep doing this.
And it's almost like a little healthy reward for doing something good too, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
You know what I've noticed, when I'm not feeling very good, or like a little bit angry at something, or tired or stressed, I won't make my bed. But when I'm really healthy, I'll make my bed.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So the moods influence the way we act on a day-to-day basis. When we're not feeling great, what kind of foods do we generally eat, right?
Right.
Nutritious.
So what would be the biggest tip you can offer somebody to work on self-efficacy? Is it celebrating these small wins to do with these small bits of productivity that you can inject in your day.
Yeah. Figure out the easiest thing you can do in your day, the earlier the better, to build confidence in your ability to achieve something and celebrate it. Whether it's waking up in the morning on time, getting to work on time, getting to the gym in time, no matter what you do in the gym, or maybe doing the work, if you are used to getting to the gym, doing the workout that you need to do, putting the effort in.
Doing the what you need to do, sorry?
Doing the kori tēnara that you need to do.
$7.
Work on that huora.
Gotta work on that huora. That one got me. And the other thing that will really help is having a bit of gratitude. So anyone that follows me on social media knows that I'm a big believer in gratitude, and gratitude.
I think so too.
Yeah, right. And gratitude can be blown out of proportion sometimes. Thinking you have to be grateful for the biggest things or the cheesy things. But gratitude, like I said before, your brain does what's easiest for it to do. Right. So when we can build gratitude around our environment, our immediate environment. We can appreciate those little things even when we're not feeling the best. And when we learn to appreciate them, it can help build perspective. When we have that perspective, we can think a bit more logically instead of emotionally when we're not feeling the best. And that
can a good balance of everything.
Yeah, right? Exactly, a good balance. And that can help us, not let our emotions dictate our actions.
I think that's really important. Gratitude and actually living and breathing those wins.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people across environments, so across communities, find it hard to take compliments even as well. I know when I get told a compliment, I'm like, oh yeah, whatever. I don't acknowledge it. I don't recognize it. I don't celebrate it. And I think I know now I should celebrate some of them, the genuine ones anyway, because those are small wins that I can take to work on my self-efficacy. Because self-esteem is a major issue.
Yeah.
Everyone's got self-esteem issues.
Everyone has.
Does, right? Why doesn't? Because she's super confident.
In herself. In herself, yes.
In herself, every aspect. But you can see it in Y's body language as well. She's got great posture. She holds herself very well. You can tell she's confident.
Absolutely.
Right?
And that's massive.
That would be my quick tip in influencing mood and I suppose perception of self as well, right? If you can control your body language, it's part of expression of self, right? So all the stuff that we're talking about, it's expression of self. And if you can control your body language, how does that link to your mood and your mental health, do you think?
So a quick study, I'll talk about this study by Amy Cuddy. She's a psychologist. She did a TED talk about this, so you can go look that up.
Nice.
She said they had two groups of people, one having slumped down posture, a posture that affects you negatively, and open posture, right? Exactly. And they looked at the hormone levels. They tested stress, so the cortisol levels, and testosterone and endorphins, right? Also the dopamine. And if the person that will slump down like this, for just 2 minutes, their cortisol levels rose up like no tomorrow.
In just 2 minutes?
In just 2 minutes. And the testosterone went right down.
So just by slumping in this posture, for everyone listening on radio, I'm crunching like Smeagol. For just 2 minutes, my stress levels are going to go up.
Grabbing your neck or having any postures that you associate with just being down. 2 minutes. Cortisol levels went up, testosterone went down, growth hormone went down, and the opposite. So when someone was opened up for just 2 minutes, their cortisol levels were so low. It was incredible, and the testosterone and growth hormone levels of the hormone to help you feel a little bit better were through the roof.
That's super interesting.
And imagine all the people that are in those postures, every day. For hours and hours and hours on end.
And the more stress they get, the more down they get.
Exactly. And
the more the posture is going to crumble.
The cycle.
Another loop. Loops on loops on loops. Patterns and patterns and patterns.
Yeah. That's why exercise is so important in terms of improving your posture, your ability to stand up straight and embrace yourself. Movement. If you can't embrace yourself through exercise, through movement, through your posture, it's going to have a negative effect.
Yes. I think we'll leave it at that, but there's some really, really good tips in there in understanding your emotions, your brain, your thoughts, a 4-step guide. Break the loop, recognize the trigger, manage the trigger without judgment. What was the 4th step again?
4th loop is, and just keep moving forward regardless.
Keep moving forward. I really like what you said about self-efficacy and celebrating small wins.
Yeah, it's a massive
Some
thing.
gratitude, you know.
And it's little things that anyone can do any day, anytime.
Little things people can do every day, all day.
All day, yeah. As long as we're aware of them.
All right. I think we'll leave it at that for today.
Awesome.
Thanks everyone for tuning in to the ONI podcast. Today we had Harris Butt on the show. Really good tips. He's doing a workshop this Saturday at 10 a.m. at the New Zealand Institute of Health and Fitness. That's at Dixon Street. What was the address again?
94 Dixon Street.
94 Dixon Street.
Level 1.
Level 1. You can find him on Instagram at Harris Butt Fitness Coach.
Oh, close. Harris Fitness Coach.
Harris Fitness Coach.
Yeah. Harris with 1 R.
You can't find him, we're going to post up this video anyway. You can find all the links on there.
Boom.
That's
Thanks
us.
for having me.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Back to you, Y.
Okay, finally we have the news coming up.